Hi, first graders. Today we're going to go ahead and do our last math lesson, if you can believe it. It's crazy to think how many of these we've done, and we're finally getting to the end of first grade, so this will be our last video math lesson. And we will be talking about combining three-dimensional shapes, or 3D shapes, and also finding patterns in them. Over the past few lessons, we have learned about different kinds of solid three-dimensional shapes, and we're going to be using them today to make composite shapes and to make patterns. So let's just review those real quick. This one is our sphere. It's the shape of a ball. It's completely round. It has no faces and it has no vertices. This one we've also talked about is a cone. And a cone is just like an ice cream cone. It has one face on the bottom of it, and it's the shape of a circle, and it has one vertex at the top here, one point. We've also talked about this shape. This one is a cylinder. A cylinder would be like a can of pop or a can of soup, something like that. It is round here, but it has two faces, one on the top and one on the bottom. They are shaped like circles, and it has no vertices. This one is our cube that we've talked about, like the shape of a box. The faces of it are the shape of squares. So all the faces are shaped like squares. And there are 6 faces all the way around. So 1, 2, 3 on the back, 4 on the side, and then 2 on the top, 5, 6. And there are 8 vertices. So 8 points or corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the same 4 more on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 8 vertices. And then we've also talked about a rectangular prism. It is a lot like a cube, except the faces of it are shaped like rectangles. And it has the same number of faces and vertices as a cube. So again, there's 6 faces and 8 vertices. So back a while ago when we were talking about two-dimensional shapes, those flat shapes, we did a lesson where we could put them together to make new shapes, and they were called composite shapes. We can do the same thing with three-dimensional shapes. We can put these shapes together to make new shapes, and they again are called composite shapes. So I can use any of these shapes, and when we're using 3D shapes, it's kind of like building. They're like blocks. So I can put different 3D shapes together. Here's a composite shape I made using 3 of our three-dimensional shapes. I could make another composite shape. And again, same thing when we were doing 2D. These are just called composite shapes. When we take shapes, put them together to make a new shape. That's what we're going to be working on today. So let's look at this first composite shape they made up here with the blue ones. What shapes did they use to make a new shape? They used, I see a cone is on top, and then it is sitting on top of a cube. What about these orange ones? What shapes did they use to make this composite shape? There's a cylinder on top, and then what's the shape underneath of it? That's our rectangular prism. See if you can identify the shapes they used to make a couple more composite shapes. Which shapes did they use to make this composite shape right here? They used a cylinder, a cone, and a rectangular prism. What about for this one? What shapes did they use? They used a cube and a cone to make this composite shape. And this green one, what did they use? We have a rectangular prism, a cube, and a cylinder. Another thing that we can do with our three-dimensional shape is we can make patterns with them. So we're going to try this. They already made patterns for us, and we have to find which shape is missing. And I find it easiest to find a missing shape just by naming the shapes in the pattern. So for this one, we have a rectangular prism, a cube, blank, rectangular prism, cube, cone, rectangular prism, cube, cone. So now I know which shape is missing here. Well, it should be the cone because it's rectangular, prism, cube, cone. Let's try it for this one. So we have cube, cone, blank, cone, cube, cone, cube, cone, cube. So which shape is missing here? Would it be another cube or a cone? It would be the cube. This last one, it says Aiden made a line of blocks. What shape is missing? So we have cone, cone, cube, cone, cone, cube, cone. Should be another cone. So now that we've practiced making composite shapes using our 3D shapes and making patterns, maybe you could find some things around your house to do this with. So for your shapes, you could either use cans of pop or cups or something like that for your cylinders, cans of soup, cans of vegetables. Maybe you could find a box of tissues or something else that's shaped like a rectangular prism to use. Maybe you have some toys that are shaped like cubes or some toys that are shaped like cones. So be creative, see if you can find your 3D shapes somewhere around your house to use and see if you can put them together to make composite shapes and to make patterns.